Next up, we're going to learn how to make a basic word processing document in Google Drive. If you're not already in Google Drive, you can get here by typing in your address bar drive.google.com. In order to make a file, I encourage you to have an appropriate folder for it to work in. We are working in our computer applications folder, and we are going to select New. We want to create a word processing file, so we will select Google Docs. Now, because I have shared this folder with my instructor, the folder already has some share settings, which allow the instructor to view the document. Google is warning me that I have shared this folder, and whatever permissions are there for the folder are going to be there for my Google document. I'm okay with that, so I'm going to say OK. Now this creates a new document for us, and when a new document is created, it creates a new tab as well. In this tab is my drive, and in this tab is my document. At the moment, my document does not have a title. In order to change the file name of this document away from this untitled document, which is basically a non-name, I'll click on that word, untitled document. You can see when I hover over it, it says rename, which opens a little window. I enter the name that I want. I select OK. Now if we come back to our drive here and we refresh, we will see that we have created a new document with a preview. There's nothing in my document, so I don't really see much in it, in this folder with the name of the file that we gave it. Now, one thing that you're going to find when you select the File menu for your files on Google Drive is there is a serious menu item missing. There is no Save feature. That's because Google Drive saves everything on the Google servers as you're working. Sometimes if you do something very complicated, you might see this notice up here indicating that it is saving, but it doesn't take very long. And even if you lose power, anything that you have done is going to be saved there. When you come back, it will be there. Let's take a look at Google Docs and what the Google Docs environment looks like. We have a blue icon in the top left that indicates that we are working in a word processing document. If we were to click on it, it would take us back to the Google Docs home. This particular area will show us all the word processing documents that we have in Google Drive. We can click back on our file and go to that. Next to the title is a little star. By clicking on that, I can make that a starred file. So back in Google Drive, when I select these starred items, we'll see that this file, My Favorite Things, is in the starred folder. I strongly encourage you to keep your starred items to a minimum so that the starred folder doesn't become overwhelming. Let's take a look at the other things in the top area of Google Docs. We can see what username we are logged into, and by pulling that down we can add a new account. If you haven't joined Google+, you can join Google+, or you can go to your Google+ account. You can sign out of this account. You can set your privacy information, and you can change your account settings. We have the ability to comment on the document. Most people don't add a lot of comments to their own documents rather than just editing, but if you want to leave some post-it notes to yourself, you can totally do that. Comments are more commonly used when you're sharing files and you want to comment on somebody else's work without changing the work. And up here on the right, we'll see the share settings. Since this is in a shared folder, it already adopts the settings of the folder. If we click that share, we can take a look at who it is shared with. By clicking Advanced, we can find out more information about that. This version of me is the owner of this document, and this version of me has these view settings based on the folder's permissions. Now, if you'll remember, we did have view, edit, and owner in folders Here, under a specific document, we have a new permission setting. We can view, we can comment, we can edit, and we could be the owner. So viewing allows us to look at a document without changing it. Comment allows us to do everything we can do in view, but also add comments. The ability to edit allows us to do everything we can do in comment, as well as actually change the document. And the owner has the ability to completely get rid of the file, as well as control what editors can do. So this is a good time. Let's set this version of me to be able to edit. And let's go ahead and save those changes for now. So while at the folder level, this version of Amy Moore can view a file, and the file level, now this version of Amy Moore can edit. Let's now look at this line down here. Editors will be allowed to add people and change the permissions. We can click change here so that editors either have this administrative level access, which allows people to add people to the file and change permissions, or we can select this radio button so that only the owner can have this administrative level, and editors, while they can edit the document, won't really be able to edit any of the share settings. So for now, I'm going to leave it so that only the owner can change the permissions. Here, this says specific people can access. If we click the change button, we can see a little more about what that means. It means that nobody can view this document unless they are specifically set to be allowed to do so by email address. So even if someone I've shared this with gives this file address to someone else, no one else will be able to see the file unless they are logged in as one of the specific people on my list. We can bump the permission up to people who have the link or anyone on the web. Up here is the URL of the link to this file. If we want to remind somebody who has access to the file that we've maybe made some changes to the document or we would like them to review it, copying and pasting this into our intranet or an email can be a real shortcut to a lot of content that has maybe gone through some changes. So let's put some text here in this document. Included in Google Docs are most of the editing tools that you will use in a word processing document. We have a print icon. Now when you're printing, if you are using Google Chrome, you will be able to print directly to a printer. If you're using any other browser, Google Drive will print to a PDF file, and then from that PDF file, you can print to your printer. This is going to use resources on your device. If you're using an app on a device that has a Google Drive app on it, you may be able to set up your printer settings directly from that app. We have some standard buttons such as undo, and notice as we hover over various buttons, we also get the keyboard shortcut, such as undo is holding Control and pressing the letter Z. We have redo, paint format, zooming in on what we're seeing. Maybe we would like to be able to see our work a little bigger. Perhaps we're working on a smaller screen, or we would just like to ease the stress on our eyes. We can set styles for various text. Here I am looking at the normal text of a document, but here I have set this to be a heading 2. I could have a heading 1 or a heading 3. If I want to change how this particular font looks, I can do so over here with the color tools, the font style settings, the font size. I can make things bold or italicized. I can even indent things. I can change their alignment. I can change paragraph spacing. I can make something a hyperlink. Google will even suggest some hyperlinks for me. I can add a comment about something, which is going to leave things in the comment menu. Comments in Google can be very powerful because once a comment is there, we can edit a comment, we can delete a comment, or we can say that a comment is resolved, and it'll make the comment go away. Again, on an individual basis, this isn't particularly powerful, but if we're working on a cooperative document, which is one of the primary reasons we work inside of Google Drive, other than the convenience of being able to share files regardless of where we are and what device we're using. We can create bulleted lists, either numbered or just with bullets. We can do indents and outdents. We can remove the formatting from some text. And we can remove the hyperlink there too while we're at it. Well, and probably also delete the bulleting. If you want to give yourself a little more space, you can collapse the upper menu so that you just have these quick editing tools and the work that you're working on. Up top, we have a lot more tools available. We have file level changes. We can share the file. We can create a new file from here. We can open an existing file. We can rename this file. We can make a copy of this file. This is great if you have a particular item like a letter that you like to use regularly but make just a few changes such as dates or names. It's nice to have a good template to work with. We can change what folder things are in. We can move it to the trash. We can look at the revision history. There are a couple ways to look at the revision history. We can do it here from the file menu. We can use this keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-Shift-G. Or you can also see the revision history by clicking on this link up here that says all the changes have been saved in Drive. It'll also take us so that we get a revision history. And this shows when I made the file. It shows when I pasted all this text here. And what I did at that revision. At some point in time in the future, once I change this particular document, I can show more detailed revisions to see all the individual things that I have done, or I can show less detailed revisions. This will also show, as you can see, who changed this document, which can be really critical when you're working in groups on Google Drive. We can change our language, which is important when we're working with our spell checking. We can download a Google Doc as a Microsoft Word file, an open document format, rich text format, a PDF, a plain text, or a web page. We can publish a document to the web. We can email everybody who is working on our file with us. So if we've made a major change and you just want to make a quick announcement to everybody, hey, go check out the changes that I made, this is a great way to quickly send a message to everybody who is using it. And you can choose of the collaborators who is going to receive this particular document, change the subject from the file name, add a message, send a copy to yourself, and even include all of the content in the item in the email, which is a little redundant when we're using Google Drive, but every once in a while you do want to push all that content out to everybody. We can email this file as an attachment to somebody else, and we can adjust the page setup. So this is page level formatting, such as whether our paper is going to be portrait, which is going up and down, or landscape, which is going sideways. We can adjust our paper size. We can change our paper color. And we can adjust our margins. Right now they are all set to the default of 1 inch. You can make a new default and set that as a default. Here's my blue paper, which is kind of weird to read on, but just to show you that that is possible to do. I'm going to change it back to white now. Under our edit menu, we can do a lot of the general editing, and Google Drive provides us with the keyboard shortcuts such as undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, managing our web clipboard, selecting everything, and doing a find and replace. Under View, we can change how we're viewing our Google Doc. Right now we're viewing it in print layout mode. We can also change the mode to editing, suggesting your viewing. We can show the ruler or hide the ruler. We can show an equation toolbar. If we're writing a lot of equations, we might want to have access to a tool like this. We can show spelling suggestions, or we can turn that off. We can compact the controls, which is this button over here. So this allows us to expand the controls again. And we can see things in full screen. And to return from full screen, we just hit escape and it'll bring our normal menu back. We have the ability to insert a lot of things other than writing. We can put a picture in. We can insert a link, an equation, a drawing. We can create a table very quickly. Let's put a table here in the middle of our document. By selecting how many boxes here is making a 3x4 table very quickly. And we can delete that table. I right-clicked on that table to get that menu up. We can insert comments and footnotes, special characters, lines. We can insert the page number at the top of the page or the bottom page. We can insert the page count where we are currently. There are 11. Insert the page count, which says there are 11 pages. That's usually something we would use inside a header or footer. We can insert a page break. We can work on headers, footers, bookmarks, and we can insert a table of contents. If you've created a document with separate headings at various levels, by clicking the table of contents, Google will automatically populate a table of contents at the point where you tell it to insert the table of contents. Under Format, this is many of the same tools that are in the formatting toolbar: bold, italic, underline, strike-through, superscript, subscript, adjusting paragraph styles, adjusting alignment, adjusting line spacing, creating lists, and we can clear formatting. We can also see that if we have them, we can work on lines. We can crop pictures that are here. We can adjust the options for images we have inserted. We can replace images, and we can reset images. Under Tools, we have a number of tools that are unique to Google Docs, and we have some tools that are pretty common in word processing programs. Spelling, for example, is rather common in word processing programs, and looking up definitions is something you can also do in a commercial program like Microsoft Word. We can get the word count for our document, and this will give us a little bit of the statistics about the document that we're working on. We can translate this document, and Google has some very powerful translations today. So we could choose to, for example, translate this into Dutch. And we could change that name to, say, Dutch. You hit the Translate button. And this would be a rough translation of this essay into Dutch. We can translate things in other languages back to English in much the same way. We can edit the personal dictionary. We can have shortcuts to making simple symbols, such as copyright or registered trademark or arrows or fractions, with these settings here. And we can edit our personal dictionary. After Tools, we have Table, which has all sorts of tools inside of it. Most of the instructions are grayed out at this point in time because there is no table to actually edit. Add-ons allow you to do more things in all of Google's applications. So you can add on programs. There are plenty of them to search for on the internet. You could add on things like mail merges in Google Docs, and you can add on some pretty fancy things in spreadsheets. This allows Google to stay a pretty thin application, meaning it's not bloated with a lot of things. Because frankly, most of the word processing we do doesn't involve things like adding references in a research paper using a database or doing mail merges. So we don't need to load all those pieces of the program up while we're doing the normal parts of our word processing. And then if we do want to do fancier things, we can go get add-ons or manage add-ons that we have access to. And then help gives you stuff about help and keyboard shortcuts and other issues that you might have. So that's a quick overview of how to use the Google Docs portion of Google Drive, word processing on a cloud application with Google.